Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Marif Temi. Getting into our next segment here, we talked about the New York Knicks side of things last segment. We're switching from the recapping of Game 1 last night to the previewing of Game 2 tonight between the Minnesota Timberwolves and Oklahoma City Thunder. Right off the bat, I want to issue an apology to Anthony Edwards because I said, how do you have a performance like you did in the second half? Because I pretty much did. I thought Anthony Edwards had his worst game of his playoff career in Game 1, at least in the second half of Game 1. I apologize. I did not see his injury. I was not aware that he got injured in Game 1. I was not aware of that until actually right after the show. And yep. But I wanted to just start things off and give an apology to him because that was a little too much. I wasn't going overboard with it, but obviously when you're hobbled with an ankle injury, we've seen Jason Tatum struggle in Game 7s, for example. A big thing you got to know with me is I'm a Boston Celtics fan, and we've seen pretty much every bad thing that can happen ever to us. So I like to tie a lot of these things back to my core memories, which is usually when it comes to basketball, the Celtics. But I know other basketball as well, obviously. But for the Timberwolves' sake of things, no. Let's start with the Thunder. The Thunder are going to continue to play the way they did in Game 1. What they did in Game 1 was dictate the pace, push the pace as much as possible, force the Timberwolves to match up with it, pick up Anthony Edwards from full court as well, always having constant pressure on him, and force a player like Julius Randle, Jade McDaniels, Naz Reid to beat you instead of Anthony Edwards. That was the goal for this team. And honestly, it pretty much worked to perfection for them in the second half of Game 1. And that's how they pulled away. But I think the double big situation that the Thunder have been using are continuing to use with Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren on the floor together at the same time. I think that's paying dividends for them on the offensive glass, and it's a big reason why the Timberwolves have not had as much success in this series like they did in the last two. What they did to the Lakers, they bullied them on the offensive glass. They got extra opportunities. What they did to the Warriors, pretty much the exact same thing. They were hitting more shots in the Lakers series than the Warriors, and of course the Warriors were hobbled without Steph Curry, but the Timberwolves continued to take advantage of that in that series as well. In this series so far, it's already come out as an issue for them to deal with. I thought the only team that could deal with them was with the Thunder's double big was the Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic, and we saw him having 40-point, 20 rebound games for a reason. So I think if the Thunder continue to play to their strengths, SGA leading the group, Jalen Williams continuing to show up as a number 2 option for the team, Chet Holmgren still playing phenomenally on the offensive glass. If they continue to play the way they did in Game 1, I think they'll be okay. And I say I think for a reason. Because on the Timberwolves side of things, obviously, I still think Anthony Edwards is going to have a massive game tonight. I really think so. I also think we're not going to see Boston Celtics Minnesota Timberwolves sighting with 51 3-pointers. I still cannot believe that stat. 2/3 of the Timberwolves shots in Game 1 were 3-pointers. 2/3, over 66%. So I don't know what else to say outside of that because that was pretty much the end result. That's why they lost Game 1. That's a big reason why they lost Game 1. But when it comes down to it, I definitely think the Timberwolves need to respond. They need Jade McDaniels. They need another guy to step up with Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards. We saw Naz Reid struggle. We saw Jaden McDaniels struggle. We saw Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker struggle. Your leading scorer outside of Edwards and Randle was Jaden McDaniels with 9 points. 9. I don't know what else to say outside of you're not going to win a game in that fashion. Not against a Thunder team like this. Not against a deep team like this. Look no further than the New York Knicks as to why the two guys scoring a heavy amount of points doesn't work. At the same time, it was 43 and 35, so sometimes it just offsets the other guys when they play at a high level to that caliber. But on the Timberwolves side of things, it was 28 for Julius Randle and 18 for Anthony Edwards. So it's a different situation entirely for the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves just need to play group basketball once again. They need to play their style. They need to slow down the pace. What the Thunder did in the second half was push the pace, and speed up the Timberwolves offense. What they did, they sped up the Timberwolves offense, got back in transition, and would just pick off passes. We saw SGA do it. We saw Jalen Williams do it. We saw Lou Dort do it. Alex Caruso did it a bunch. They look like cornerbacks out there. It really did. It looked like a game of NFL with somebody playing quarterback, throwing it down the court, playing transition, and it just didn't work. The Thunder players just saw it. They read every pass every single time. Why? Because they got chances. They can go 10-man deep into their rotation, so they get the opportunity to do so. When you go 10-man deep into your rotation, you give more rest to your starters. You give guys ample rest in general on the bench. So come that fourth quarter, they have more juice in their legs and they have more energy in general to win the game, to close out the game. So I think if you're the Thunder, you continue to play the game that you've been playing, like you did in game 1. If you're the Timberwolves, you have to switch it up. You have to. There's no questions asked. The Timberwolves need to play their style of basketball. It starts with Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards needs to be the leader of this team. I know he got injured. And I'm so sorry that he did, because this is a common theme in this year's playoffs with players getting injured and missing time, and it being an issue in series. For example, Steph Curry in the last round against the Timberwolves. But I think the Timberwolves will come out firing in game 2 tonight. I really think Anthony Edwards will dictate the show. I would not be shocked if he had 30 to 40 points. I really wouldn't. I kind of expect it from Anthony Edwards tonight, because he hasn't had that sort of performance since really the Lakers Timberwolves series, like 3 weeks ago now. Wow, it's been 3 weeks since that happened. But this is what I'm talking about. The Timberwolves want to respond. It starts with Anthony Edwards. Julius Randle needs to continue to play at the level he is, and I believe he will. He'll still have about 20 points in the game. But outside of those two, another guy must show up. Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Mike Conley, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, even Rudy Gobert. One of the 5 must show up. Have to have 15 plus points in tonight's game. If the Timberwolves can do that, they have a chance to win. I really think they do. But if they don't, they could find themselves down 2-0 in this series, which honestly, it wouldn't be the worst thing. It's not a death sentence if it's not a death sentence if you're the Timberwolves. But that means that the Thunder only need to win one of 2 games to pretty much go up 3-1 and ice this series, because you're not coming back 3-1 against this team. It's just not going to happen. So I think if you're the Timberwolves, you want to win tonight. It's not must win, but you want to win tonight. You got to think of tonight like a game 5. Like it's a momentum. It's a difference maker. If you win tonight, it's 1-1 going to Minnesota. Changes the game entirely. If you're down 2-0, it continues to build pressure on the Timberwolves at home on their home floor in a game 3 that they must win then. So, yeah, I think my prediction for this game, as much as I want to say Timberwolves so bad, My prediction for this game is I really want the Timberwolves to win, and I think I have to. This is the same. My brain tells me Thunder. My heart tells me. My gut tells me Timberwolves. Not even my heart, because I'm not a Timberwolves fan, but my gut tells me Timberwolves, because I think Anthony Edwards is going to show out tonight. I really think he will. It is actually like impossible. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Wow. I'm actually dumbfounded. I can't pick a team. I think I have to roll with the Timberwolves. I have to roll with my gut. Timberwolves winning winning game 2, bringing the series back to Minnesota, tied 1-1 apiece. I'm rolling with it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will show up tonight. I don't doubt that. But I think the rest of the guys on the Timberwolves will have a bounce back game. I really think so. So I'm rolling with the Timberwolves to win game 2 and go back to Minnesota in a 1-1 series. That's my take, and I'm going to put a pin in it there. We'll be back right here tomorrow as well at 9 a.m. to recap that game, and I can't wait for this game as well. But I'm going to take another short break. Coming up next, we're going to discuss the Oklahoma City Thunder star, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, winning the MVP award. The 2024-2025 MVP goes to SGA. And we'll recap that. We'll congratulate him for that, as well as discuss what it would mean if SGA won the NBA championship, won the NBA Finals MVP, and won the regular season MVP like he just did. What would it matter to his career, and what would it matter? How would it alter how we look at him in terms of NBA rankings? So we'll discuss all of that in the next segment. But you're watching the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Don't go anywhere.